What does a successful student look like to you? Success might look like an A on an assignment, or all A's in a semester, or keeping a perfect 4.0 GPA. So you stress yourself out. You think that in order to be successful, you have to strive for perfection. You have to get all A's. I'm not surprised you are so stressed out. You've been encouraged to chase perfection your whole life. Success does not just fall into our lap. It does take work. It takes focus. It takes dedication. It takes determination. Most importantly, it takes time. The one thing it does not take is perfection.
I've discovered that if you get to the root of perfectionism, you will find fear. You will find fear of failing, fear of making a mistake, fear of not being good enough, fear of being judged. And those fears can keep you stuck in a pattern of overthinking and overanalyzing everything.
I know the struggle of feeling like you have to prove yourself because you already know the cards are stacked against you, and you feel the pressure of finishing because you are so afraid that you might fail. That desire to be successful in the face of so much opposition is an overwhelming feeling. It's enough to push you into falsely believing that you must be perfect in everything you do. But perfection is not a requirement for success. I needed to let go of the idea that I had to be perfect in everything I did.
Getting results that don't meet your expectations doesn't mean that you are on the wrong track. And so far too often, we expect our rough draft to be perfect. But a rough draft is a rough draft. It's supposed to be revised and refined over time. And so you will attempt some shots and miss, but you will miss 100% of the shots you never take. Overachievers and perfectionists are extremely tough on themselves. Being ambitious and wanting to do well is a great trait. However, being an overachiever can also work against you. And this is why I want you to pursue progress instead of pursuing perfection. Giving your best doesn't guarantee the outcome that you desire. However, your best is all you can offer. So when you give your best, just feel good about the fact that you did your best. It doesn't mean that you're not cut out for this. It doesn't mean that you have permission to have a pity party. It doesn't mean that you have permission to self-criticize. Just feel good about the fact that you believed in yourself enough to go after a goal that you really wanted to achieve. Perfectionists are typically also high achievers. And this means that perfectionists tend to have very high expectations of themselves. It's a great trait, but it also means that they are more likely to experience anxiety and sadness when a project doesn't turn out the way they envisioned. And when I find myself falling back into a pattern of perfectionism, I remind myself to practice self-compassion. I also try to give myself the same grace and compassion that I would give to someone else. When you're a perfectionist, you focus more on your deficits than on your positive qualities. And even when you put forth a lot of effort, you might still feel like you didn't do enough.
We're all a work in progress. It may seem to you like others have it better. It may seem like they have it easier. It may seem like the grass is greener on the other side. That is until you look at it more closely and realize that it's fake. But hey, maybe it is real. Still, they are no better than you or I, so don't worry about what the others are doing or what they have done. Don't compare your progress to theirs because they are on a different journey from you. You didn't get to see their failures, their lessons learned, their setbacks. You only see the end result. Don't allow the end result to fool you into thinking, okay, if I do everything exactly right, make the right choices, make the right impressions, make the right grades, then I too will finally have it made. This is a false narrative of the worst kind. Do not fall for it. The only person you have to compete with is yourself. You are not perfect, and that is perfectly okay. As long as you are better today than you were yesterday, you are progressing.
I want to challenge you to really focus on making progress. Having a goal of making progress means that you are focusing on needle-moving activities. Making progress means that you are not critiquing and revising your work for hours. And listen, progress does not have to be huge. Making progress simply means that you are taking small steps every day that will bring you closer to your goal. So instead of allowing self-doubt to hold you back, begin to take imperfect action. And in doing so, you will discover that small wins add up to bigger wins. Do not sweat the small stuff. I'm going to have to say that again. Do not sweat the small stuff.
Contrary to popular belief, practice does not make perfect. It makes better. If you want proof, just check out any professional sports team, any professional athlete, any professional musician, any professional singer, any professional actor. Despite the hours upon hours of practice, mistakes are made, games are lost, wrong notes are played, lines are forgotten. Yet the world still somehow manages to keep spinning. When a mistake is made, learn from it. Apply those lessons and keep practicing. If you practice to make better instead of perfect, you will continue to see progress.
You know, you read three words. You read three words that you probably don't think that you would ever see, and it says crash victim dies. And then it changes. It's not only about you, not only about your fears and your wounds. Now you begin to see and to realize that our choices have this ripple effect that can affect other people, other families. And so this was the reality on July 17th, 2009. And I think at the core of us, we long for human connection. There's an ember in all of us that just want to feel like we belong, find that place in that space. And so I was in that pursuit. And so when some of the friends that I had growing up throughout the younger years, they weren't the popular kids, but I needed you to see me a certain way, you know? And so I walked away from those friends, probably the worst mistake of my life, and try to find new friends that would give me the image. My sophomore year, some new friends that I developed, they asked me to come over to a party and pop the pill and take the drink, and you know, some of the things that are pretty typical in the high school experience, right, wrong, or indifferent. There's just these opportunities for you to have a choice to compromise yourself or not to compromise yourself. So now, as I'm getting involved with drugs and alcohol and just such destructive things, I went from straight A's to straight F's. My senior year, I'm a full-blown alcoholic and an addict and just a lot of destructive mentalities. And I got expelled my senior year. I didn't graduate. And you know, in that moment, you begin to lose hope. You begin to feel like you're labeled from the community around you, and you start to have this internal battle. Why should I even try to change, you maybe what it is what it was always supposed to be. I don't have a purpose. This is just kind of like what life dealt me. It was the deck, and now I just got to live with it. So here I am now, really 7 years removed from being a straight A student as a freshman. It was a typical Friday night, and that new group of friends that I had developed over the years, there was a party, and I'm 23, what's the big deal? Let's just go to the party and have a few drinks, and I went, and when the alcohol ran out, we went to a bar. I had a few more drinks, and then the bar was gonna close, and we were gonna go to another after party. Actually, we're going to my friend's house where we were all gonna go to, and I knew him really well, and they asked me if I wanted to leave a little bit early, and so, and kind of get the party ready. And I was sure, why not? But I was too drunk and I wasn't gonna drive, so I remember I called my friend, Priscilla. Priscilla had moved to Alabama a few months previous to this night. She had friended a group of us, and she wasn't there that night, and I needed a driver. So I called Priscilla, and she shows up, but somewhere in that process, that's when everything really changed. Somehow I got the keys. Still today, we don't know how this moment transpired. She was basically sober, and I was extremely inebriated. But nevertheless, I got the keys. And next thing I know, I wake up. I wake up in a hospital bed. I remember leaving the bar and getting to her car. We were right around the corner from TJ's house, and I can still hear her voice. She said the word tree. I was in a helicopter, and I woke up in this hospital with police officers over top of me asking me questions. Who is she? What's her name? And her name's Priscilla, and I'm confused. And they wouldn't really tell me anything because I wasn't family. And they said she's alive, but she's struggling. That morning, for some reason, they didn't arrest me. They let me leave. And they just told my mom, who had showed up, we'll be in contact with you guys soon. And on the ride home, my mom was able to collect some information of what happened that night, because my sister being a nurse, we didn't know the specifics per se, but we just knew things were gonna change. And there's a lot of trauma to Priscilla, and she didn't put on her seatbelt that night. When we hit the tree at a high rate of speed, she flung forward, and the case of beer I put in the back seat, it flung forward, and the seatbelt restrained me, but she didn't have on hers, and upon impact, she was just catapulted forward, and the windshield and her and the case of beers kind of collided. As my mom's telling me some of the information, you think this happens to everybody else, not people like me, not like you. It's the dangers of this thing, right? When you begin to feed a bear cub, the bear cub's cute and it's cuddly, that addiction. But eventually the bear cub grows up and it's a full-grown grizzly, and if you don't keep feeding it, it can kill you. And so you begin feeding it, and next thing you know, you can't break free from it. That was my addiction. And Carolyn, Priscilla's mom, and Olivia, her sister, about 3 days after the wreck. First off, I'm waiting for just the police to show up probably and arrest me, right? Like the unknown, what's gonna happen? What's this even mean? They want me to call them, and so I pick up the phone and I'm weeping, and I remember what Carolyn said to me and Olivia that on that call, and they're emotional, and they say, Nathan, we're angry, we're sad, we're mad, we don't know what to feel. But we just don't think one dumb choice should destroy two families' lives. We want you to know in this moment we've picked love over hate, and we decided to forgive you. And they asked me to do two things. Don't let our daughter Priscilla please pass away for nothing, and try to make the world a better place. And of course you say yes, right? Like, your brain's trying to register, because in today's society, they had every right to hate me and demand justice, and for that to be me and not her. And to be honest, I think I'm wrestling with that place in that moment. Like, I knew the struggles, my hurts, the poor decisions, the brokenness. I would have did anything to reverse those roles. And here's this family finding this craziest courage I've ever seen in my life. They stepped into their most difficult time in their life, and they picked love over hate and to forgive. And I said yes. But just because a family found radical courage to forgive doesn't mean my choices didn't have consequences. And so at 23 years old, when I should have been a senior graduating college, just a few years removed from when things were better, I got sentenced to 15 years of prison, sentenced to a crime of reckless homicide, vehicle manslaughter. So here I am now at 23 with this family forgiving me, the brokenness of my past, the struggles of the story of my life. And now face to face with 15 years of incarceration. To be honest, it would have been easy to say I quit. I gave up throwing the towel. I come from a broken family. I came from the struggles of wanting to live life and all my mental health and just the struggles of the anxieties, the depressions, the eating disorders, the anger, the rage, the drugs now, the alcohol. Now my choices affected another family that'll never go back to what it was. I had to come to terms with something. What am I going to do? I think a lot of times we want to change, we know we need to change, and we should change, but nothing changes. Because change is tough. Change takes vulnerability. You have to confront yourself. And here I was now at 23, and I had to confront the thing that I've been most afraid of my entire life, me. I used to blame everything on the trauma, the external sources, the wounds, but now I had to come face to face with me. And I remember it was in that moment, because I really wanted to keep the promise to the Owens family, to Carolyn and Olivia. And my dad, even though the wounds that happened in my past with him, he had always had this quote: as long as there's breath in your lungs, Nathan, there's hope in your heart. You're never a product of your environment. You're a product of what you find the courage to do. And so it was then, as a 23-year-old dude, that I looked in the mirror facing 15 years, and I wrote the words, "Change the world," and I slapped them with toothpaste on the wall of my little prison cell. And I didn't know what it looked like. I didn't know what it meant. I didn't know how to keep a promise to a family and what does change the world even mean, but I knew what I had been doing up to that point wasn't working. And so every day I started waking up, owning my story, confronting me. There's a quote that I live by now, and it's, I would rather confront, fight, and fail than settle for just staying the same. And it started then. Not when my circumstance would get better, it was then. And so now I have a choice. What am I going to do with my day? It was about me. Can I every day wake up and realize life is a choice? I can build or I can destroy. I can feed and it can grow, or I can starve and it can die. Taking ownership that, the journey and the beauty of the symphony of our lives, that regardless of the chaos, there are areas that even in my chaos, I can control. The prison started a program, a therapeutic program, and it was basically a cognitive program. Change the way you think, it can change you. And I started in that program, and my life was really, finding a balance. And it was so effective, it was lowering the recidivism rate in the state of Indiana. So they wanted to start to really promote this program. And so when they went to find an ambassador, they got the permission to take somebody on the inside that was a prisoner, a convict, an inmate, and let them begin to try to be a spokesman. I didn't know that was going to happen. I was every day just doing the next right thing for me, but it created an opportunity. You never know who's watching. You never know what's around you. And so when they went to pick somebody, they selected me. And so here I am now 2 years into this 15-year sentence, and I'm getting opportunities to leave the prison in street clothes and to go all across the state of Indiana and speak at different venues and different locations about just this program. I spoke to about 5,000 to 7,000 people in this 1.5 year period, and the governor's council at the time, they got wind of about it, and I remember a letter came in, and it basically said that this young man's is more effective out there than he is in here. And I got released 11.5 years early. I got released in 2012 and 2013, around that time, and to be honest, when I put Change the World on the mirror, I didn't know what that meant, but I was beginning to find my why. You know, I always tell people, I don't need you to give me your thesis of exactly what your future's gonna look like. Some of us know those things. Some of us have that vision, and that's exactly what we're gonna do, and they execute it, and it's amazing, but that's not everybody's song. For me, it's about having a direction. Change the World to me was just a direction. So every single day, as I was moving towards that, the details begin to become more vivid. It's almost like I had a coloring book, and I had this blank piece of paper that was a picture of whatever scene that I wanted to be, but I didn't know what it was gonna look like. But over time, I would pick up the purple, and I'd pick up the green, I'd pick up the blue, and as I'm just doing the next thing, the picture got more beautiful, it became more vivid, it came into focus. You don't have to have every detail, but start moving towards it. And over time, consistently, it begins to be more defined. And so for me, we're afraid of what will it look like. We're afraid of failing. We're afraid of being vulnerable. Fear drives us. But I've learned the more I punch fear, and that fear's not final, and no feeling's final, and that we can do hard things and we can make mistakes. If you can step into your story, you have no idea the ripple effect that can happen around you. We can build or we can tear down. And now I just live a life where every day, how can I walk into a room and add value to people?
You see, Albert, in his early 20s, maybe felt a lot like you feel like right now. Anxious, frustrated, uncertain, waiting for the opportunity to show your best and feeling like it's not happening yet. In 1902, he gets a job. Not a science job, he gets a job in a patent office in Switzerland. To many people, this would have felt like I didn't get it right, it didn't start right for me, but not for Einstein. Einstein knew my journey has started. You see, work is this extraordinary thing. We've let it feel like it's not that in our lives. We've let it feel like it's the thing you don't want to do, but work is this powerful opportunity to shape your life, to build the dreams that you have. That is what work offers you. And Einstein had glory in his eyes. He knew what he was aiming at, but it didn't start there. For many people, this would have added to their desperation. It would have added to their depression, but not for him. Not for him. He knew this was the start. He was ready to go to work. What's next? You see, we grew up in a system, we grew up in a school system, an education system that gives us targets. And those targets are designed to build our life, to ask you to be at your best. That's how we prepare for life and work. And then one day we leave school, we enter the rest of our life. And the targets start to look different. The targets aren't designed to build your life. The targets are designed to build a business, build an organization, build somebody else's goals. And for many people, that feels like a really frustrating place to be. But not Einstein. Einstein knew he was there to do patents. But that didn't mean he couldn't choose his own target. You see, Einstein went to work every day. And in his patent office, he had a desk that he worked at. And in the top drawer of that desk, Einstein chose his own target. He called the top drawer of his desk his theoretical physics department. That's where he was going to go to work on his science every day. In the moments that he had, in the time away from the patents, he was going to pour his energy at his own target. From that patent office, in 1905, we call it the miracle year. Albert Einstein released 5 papers, 5 scientific papers, and 4 of them changed the world. This is equals MC squared. This is the theory of relativity. This is what Albert Einstein was working on in the top drawer of his desk. He didn't just choose his target. He started to change his actions. The idea that you can set a target for yourself and then you can start to bend your behavior, change how you're showing up to actually reach that target. This is the idea that you can either lead life or let life lead you. That you can give yourself the permission to change your future. And Einstein, one of the most brilliant men the world has ever seen, showed us how. You see, after Albert was ready to work, after he chose his own target, after he changed his behavior, he then realized this wasn't just about him. You see, in 1905, he releases some of the world's greatest scientific work, and he still stayed at his patent job for the next 4 years because he realized that it wasn't just about him. It wasn't just about what he could do. It was about giving back to those who would offer him a chance. So for 4 more years, he spent in that patent office, thinking through his science through the top drawer of his desk and also his daily job. You see, Einstein never let that idea drift too far from his life. He could have used his incredible brilliance, his genius, to make millions. He decided to think through it in a different way. You see, Einstein, you got to think of where he was at what time of our world he lived. This was a Jewish man living in Germany in the 1930s, recognizing that his science had the capabilities to secure a world or break it apart. For the rest of his life, he toiled with the power of his science. He recognized this wasn't just about him. This was about a world, this was about a better outcome, and he knew that it could go down one of 2 paths. Better life, terrible life, for everyone. And he held the responsibility of that. In this idea of leading life, others need to support, others need to believe in you. And if you keep putting the focus on yourself, they start to drift away. Albert Einstein, for the rest of his life, showed us what it meant to live for the world. You see, Albert Einstein, in the final days of his life, was getting quite sick and was asked to give a lecture, to give a speech at a university in the final days of his life. He gets sick, goes to the hospital, brings his speech with him so he can continue to work, continue to write down what he wanted to offer for those in attendance. And on April 18th, 1955, Einstein died, speech in hand, recognizing that his final gift to the world wasn't done. It wasn't complete. The problem that he was working on, his life's work, would never be complete. But he'd found the thing that mattered. You know, you don't need that answer now. I think about all of you young people sitting in this audience, thinking about your future, feeling the pressure to have this thing that you want to bring to your hospital bed. You don't need to know it now, but you need to be excited about finding it. You need to be excited about finding that thing that matters so much that you're willing to bring that speech to your hospital bed. Albert Einstein, we know his brilliance in science, but we forget about his brilliance in life. 20-year-old Einstein might have felt just like you, anxious, uncertain, feeling like all you need is a start. Well, he got a start, and it might have been very different from what he was hoping for. But he was ready to go to work. He was ready to choose his own target. He was ready to change his behaviors. He was ready to realize it wasn't just about him, and he was ready to realize he was going to do this for the next 60 years of his life. at the end of his life, he was still willing to bring that speech to the hospital because the problem wasn't done. Those 5 rules will serve you well. And I thank you for your time today.
We tell ourselves that success is reserved for those who are lucky, the talented, the privileged. But let me ask you this, why not you? Why not you for that role? Why not you for that next level? Why not you for that thing that you've wanted to do for a while but haven't? How many times have we held ourselves back thinking that we're not ready? We're not smart enough. We're not skilled enough. We're not talented enough. We're not charismatic enough. We aren't enough. Every masterpiece starts as a work in progress. Every marathon begins with a single step. You don't need to have it all figured out. You just need to start. Start where you are. Use what you have and do what you can, and ask yourself the question of why not you? Because every small action, every tiny effort is a building block of your future, is a building block of your life. Yes, the road ahead won't be easy, but nothing great ever was. Don't wait for the perfect moment. Don't wait for someone to give you the green light to say this is when you're able to go. Don't strive for perfect, strive for better. There will be times when you feel like giving up, when the weight of your dream seems too heavy to carry, and sometimes you just have this moment where you feel like, I just want to put it down. I want to take a breather. I need a break. But remember, failures are not the end of the journey. They're a part of it. Every single day, the world offers us a new beginning. The sun rises, it's a fresh start, an open door to endless possibilities. But how often do we greet the day with a heart full of doubt, convinced that those possibilities are for someone else and not us? For our friends, for our families, for people that have made it, and then we slowly but surely shy away and stop pursuing the dreams that we have. We scroll through our feeds and see others achieving great things, starting businesses, winning races, creating art, and we think, good for them, but I could never perform that way. Oh, great for their story, but that's not me. The only thing standing between you and your dreams is the belief that you can achieve them. You're capable of more than you know. Your potential is absolutely limitless, but it can only be unlocked by action. Every person who has achieved anything great started exactly where you are, filled with a doubt, filled with fear, filled with uncertainty, filled with anxiety that they don't know if they're going to be able to make it. Think of the icons, the leaders, the trailblazers. They weren't born into success. They created it. Day by day, decision by decision, step by step. Yes, they faced challenges. Yes, they ran into obstacles. They heard the whispers of doubt saying in their minds, you don't deserve it. This isn't for you. They felt and experienced failure more than most. But here's what they didn't do. They didn't stop. They didn't quit. And neither should you. How often do we dim our own light because we believe that we don't deserve to? We don't deserve that level of success. We don't deserve that life. But let me tell you something. The strongest people in the world are the ones that experience the struggle, that experience the doubt, and they keep going. That's where you find strength. That's where you find courage. Every no just opens a door to a potential yes in the future. Every fall teaches you how to rise again. These moments don't define you, they refine you. They don't shape you into someone who can't achieve anything. They shape you into someone who can achieve the unimaginable. So next time you feel that doubt creep in, when you wonder if you're not worthy, ask yourself the question, why not me? Why shouldn't you be the one to break barriers? Why shouldn't you be the one to challenge the odds? Why shouldn't you be the one that is actually able to create a life of purpose and passion like no one in your family or your friends ever have before? The world needs what you have to offer, but you need to believe that you deserve a seat at the table first. And when you reach that peak, when you stand at the top of the mountain of that goal that you had only dreamed of, looking back at all the hurdles and all the challenges that you had to overcome, you'll realize something. It was never about the top of the mountain. It was about the steps that you took to climb it. It's the person that you became along the way, the strength you discovered, the courage that you built. So today, as you stand on the edge of a new day, ask yourself, why not me? Why shouldn't I be the one to make a difference? Why shouldn't I be the one to live fully, to inspire others? The truth is, there's no reason you can't. The only question is, will you? The world is waiting for you to step up, to claim your place in it, to make your mark. You have the power, the strength, the ability to turn your dreams into reality. So what are you waiting for? You don't need anyone's permission to be who you are. You don't need the green light from anyone to pursue the dreams that you have. Sometimes we feel like we're not worthy, like we don't deserve the win, like we don't deserve the success. I'm here to tell you that you do, and that you were made for more. You've been operating at a fraction of your potential of what you were built and put on this planet to do. But it's going to take you leaning in and saying yes before you're ready, and taking action before you think you're prepared, and leaning into the areas of your life that you don't have a whole lot of confidence in, that you're not sure of yourself in. That's where success is found. That's where real progress is made. It is not something that you are given through luck or through genetics. It is something you build. So when you have those moments of doubt, when you feel like you're not enough to handle it, understand that who you are is made for greatness. Now it's time to pursue them.